From the deserts of the Middle East to the icy tundras of the Arctic, the world's militaries are spending more than ever before. As global tensions continue to rise, the race to invest in advanced weapons and technologies has never been more intense. Military expenditure across the world has hit a record high, reaching $2.2 trillion in 2022. This marks a 3.7% increase in the real terms from the previous year, and the global spending growing by 19% over the past decade. According to a report by Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, the United States remains the biggest military spender, with $877 billion allocated to military spending in 2022. This is 39% of the world's total military spending and 3 times more than the amount spent by China, the world's second largest spender. Despite this increase, US military spending world have been even higher, but not the highest levels of inflation since 1981. Dr. Nantian, SIPRI senior researcher, stated that the increase in US military spending was largely accounted for by the unprecedented level of financial military aid provided to Ukraine. The country received $19.9 billion in military aid from the US in 2022, which was the largest amount of military aid given by any country to a single beneficiary in any year since the Cold War. China remains the second largest military spender with an estimated $292 billion allocated to military spending in 2022. This is a 4.2% increase from the previous year and a 63% increase from 2013. China's military expenditure has increased for 28 consecutive years. The increase in global military spending in 2022 was largely driven by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Military expenditure in Europe rose by 13%, by the largest increase since the post-Cold War era. Other countries, particularly in Asia and Oceania, also contributed to global growth. Meanwhile, India remained the world's top importer of weaponry despite a decline in imports over the past year. According to a report by a think tank tracking weapons imports for over the past years, India accounted for the largest percentage of world's arms import at 11%. Saudi Arabia followed by 9.6%, while Qatar, Australia and China tied at 4.7%. The most recent report confirms the findings of SIPRI report from last year, which stated that India remained the top importer of weaponry in 2022, despite a 21% decline in imports between 2012 to 16, 2017 to 21. The drop in import was attributed to a cumbersome procurement process and efforts to replace imports with local products. The 5 largest arms exporters are the United States, Russia, France, China, Germany. In the past 5 years, the US exported the largest percentage of military goods worldwide, followed by Russia, France, China, and Germany. SIPRI data revealed that American armament exports increased 14%, while those of Russia decreased 31% from 2013 to 17 and 2018 to 22. According to Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, the United States remains the world's largest exporter of arms, accounting for 40% of all military goods exported worldwide over the past 5 years. Russia follows closely behind 15%, while France, China and Germany accounted for 11%, 5.2%, 4.2% respectively. The past 5 years has seen a 14% increase in American armament exports. While Russia decreased by 31%, India, one of the largest importers of military goods, has reduced imports from Russia by 37%. In 2018 to 22, Ukraine was 14th largest importer of major weaponry, but it rose to become the 3rd largest in 2022 due to conflict with Russia. France exports have increased by 44% between 2013 and 2018, and 30% of them come from India for the previous 5 years. France has now surpassed the United States to become India's second largest arms supplier after Russia. Military spending in the Americas reached $961 billion in 2022, with the US accounting for 91% of it. Overall spending in the region increased by 0.3% from 2021 and 3.5% from 2013. North America spent $904 billion in 2022, a 0.7% increase from 2021, while Canada spent $26.9 billion, a 3% increase from the previous year. Spending in Central America and the Caribbean totaled $11.2 billion in 2022, a 6.2% decrease from the previous year, but still 38% higher than in 2013. Military spending by African countries reached a total of $39.4 billion. However, this marked a decline in aggregate spending for the first time since 2018, with a 5.3% drop from 2021 and a 6.4% drop from 2013. Total military spending of Asian and Oceanian countries reached $575 billion in 2022, a 2.7% increase from the previous year and a 45% increase from 2013. This marks a continuous rise in military spending in the region and goes back several decades. The largest contributors to the trend were China, India, and Japan, which accounted by 73% over the region's military expenditure in 2022. The report notes of China's military spending has been growing at an average rate of 6.6% per year over the past decade, reaching $252 billion in 2022. India's military spending increased by 3.7% to $75.8 billion, while Japan's spending rose by 3.5% to $48.5 billion. In 2022, Europe saw a significant increase in military spending, reaching a total of $480 billion, a 30% rise from the previous year. This rise largely due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Over the decade from 2013 to 2022, European military expenditure went up 38%. Military spending by Central and Western European countries made up the majority of this, totaling $345 billion in 2022, which is the highest level since the end of the Cold War. In 2022, countries in the Middle East spent an estimated $184 billion on the military, with just 3.2% decrease from 2021 but a 1.5% decrease from 2013. The rise in spending can be attributed to Saudi Arabia, the region's largest military spender and fifth largest in the world, with 16% growth in spending. Despite the increase in spending, the total military expenditure in the region is still lower than it was in 2013. That was all for today's video. I hope you got some insightful content, and please subscribe for more videos like this.